Please rise for the invocation. This morning will be given by Commissioner Shaw, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
God, grant us strength and courage to tackle challenges today. Let our choices honor you and serve those we represent. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let me add that this meeting is now called to order. Okay, thank you. So roll call, please. Ms. Blackshear.
Mayor Mims,
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph,
Aye.
Shaw,
Aye.
Fairchild, Turner-Sloss.
Aye.
Okay, may I have a motion then to approve the minutes from the May 7th meeting?
So moved, Your Honor.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
It's been probably moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the May 7th meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay, Ms. Blackshear, do you have any communications or petitions?
There are none, Your Honor.
Okay, no presentations. Ms. Blackshear, are there any additions, deletions, or comments to the calendar?
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Dixon, any additions, deletions, or comments to the calendar?
Your Honor, I do not have additions or deletions. I do want to note for the record the change in the lead resolution due to some wording that our internal auditor wanted to see in the document. It did not change the fact that we were receiving $2.5 million for our lead abatement program. You all have received those updated versions for the emergency resolution this morning. I also have a few other comments that I would like to highlight with regards to our calendar this morning. Item number 4, which is a contract modification for Outdoor Enterprise LLC, is a $65,000 contract that continues the improvements to Gettysburg Park. You'll recall we've been making improvements along the way, bringing this park back to active status. For many years, it was not in an active status. It was something that the neighborhood really was interested in, that you all supported. So we've been putting amenities back in to the Gettysburg Park to elevate that park status. We also have item number 6, which is an award of contract for our 2025 thoroughfare asphalt resurfacing program. That's another $1.7 million going into our thoroughfare streets, and we are excited to have that investment coming forward. And finally, we have item number 10, which is a purchase agreement by Montgomery County Land Utilization. Sorry, I will have one more item after this, Mayor. And I would like to call forward Tony Kroger to come up and give a brief presentation on these 72 parcels that we're going to be conveying to the land bank for redevelopment purposes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I would like to give a brief explanation about the 72 parcels that will be transferred to the Montgomery County Land Bank. While the purchase agreement is only for $10, the aggregate value of these lots does exceed $50,000, which is why it has to be, the authority has to be approved by the City Commission. You might say on its face, that sounds like a bad deal. Well, in fact, I believe it's a great deal. The land bank with these properties will embark upon a number of publicly beneficial uses, including new housing, and I will have the land bank briefly describe what that means and how much and all that stuff as it relates to the Ohio's Welcome Home program. But like I said, they will be put towards a range of beneficial uses, which of course has its own economic impact, but probably more importantly, a wonderful land use impact on a couple of neighborhoods, which I will display on the slides here shortly. An important note while we're talking about the economic impact is that getting 72 vacant lots out of the city's hands and to the Montgomery County Land Bank, we project using Public Works estimates that will actually save us over $300,000 over the next 10 years. So we're not going out there and mowing it anymore. It's in the land bank's hands or in the hands of a new homeowner, which is wonderful as well. All of the 72 parcels that are part of this agenda item are in the Madden Hills and Fairview neighborhoods. They're basically zoned for single-family residential, and that is important because that is also the purpose of the Welcome Home program in these neighborhoods. One interesting component to all of this is that some of the Fairview parcels were actually parcels acquired for the NIP demolition program, Neighborhood Improvement Program, Initiative Program. And what that means is, at one time on these Fairview lots, there was an awful, blighted, abandoned, tax delinquent, vacant house that was never going to be brought back to life. We used the resources available to us with the land bank to remove that blighted house, and now there's going to be a new house in its place. It's quite a story, in my opinion.
Yes.
So with these 72 lots, the land bank, of course, will determine what the most suitable use is based on the various attributes of each lot. I think this is, once again, a symbol of our partnership with the Montgomery County Land Bank and bringing vacant properties, blighted properties, back to a beneficial state. In terms of locations, they're displayed on the map here. The Fairview neighborhoods parcels are now on the screen. They are basically north of Salem, all in the Fairview neighborhood on streets such as Ravenwood and adjacent streets, kind of scattered throughout a bit. Where there's more contiguous properties, that's probably where you would do the new housing. And others could be side yards or open space perpetually maintained by the land bank. That remains to be seen, or just for the purpose of land banking itself. Madden Hills properties to be transferred to the land bank are displayed on this slide right now. These are a little bit larger parcels and more contiguous to one another, better groupings, and those groupings as well are intended to be targets for new housing. But I don't want to steal too much of the land bank's thunder here, so with that I will conclude. If there are any technical questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'd like to call up Emmy Fabick from the Montgomery County Land Bank.
Okay. All right. We good.
All right, Emmy?
Good morning, Commissioners, City Manager. Thank
morning.
you for having us here. Just echoing what Tony said, we have a great partnership and a wonderful opportunity to support new housing development through funding, close to $7 million through the Ohio Department of Development. So we're really coming full circle in some of these neighborhoods where demolition took place to now embark into new territory for single-family housing on some of those same lots. So as Tony mentioned, there are going to be certain neighborhoods for the new houses, but I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of the entire project because we will be touching about 17 total Dayton neighborhoods. So there will be 4 slated for 10 new houses. Madden Hills, Fairview are in Phase 1, and Dayton View Triangle and Wolf Creek are slated for Phase 2. While that is progressing, those 40 houses, we will be renovating 24 existing structures that the land bank has acquired or purchased through the grant funds. So this is really an exciting opportunity citywide. The overall objectives of the grant are really to increase home ownership of owner-occupied structures, and this particular funding source through the Ohio Department of Development is focused on income-eligible residents, so those that are 80% of AMI or below. Those folks that may be stuck in a position renting and not have quite enough funds to break into owning their own home just yet. So this is a little bit of a boost up. For the land bank here in Montgomery County, we put a little bit of a special twist on the program where we would like to focus on first-time home buyers, so people who have not owned a home ever before or who have not owned a home in the last 3 years, to provide them opportunity. And this is really a great moment, especially from what we saw in the ribbon cutting last week in Madden Hills, to have workforce housing keeping our jobs here locally, making sure people can live and work in the neighborhoods to keep Dayton strong. So the timeline to use the grant to build all of these houses is very aggressive. We have a deadline of the end of May 2026, and we have ceremonially broken ground last week, but we will be breaking ground this spring. Fingers crossed that we get our permits here in early June. So we have 2 construction contractors building these 40 houses. And as I mentioned before, it's 2 phases and 4 geographies, and this is a version of one of the one-story houses to be built in Madden Hills. So there is quite a positive impact with the goals of this grant, and one of the things is that we are establishing market confidence to achieve new development in some neighborhoods that really haven't seen new houses in probably close to 50 years. And we're also going to attract new homeowners and keep residents where they want to live. And we are working with the neighborhoods collaboratively with Citywide and other partners to make sure that there's been public input on designs such as this. So we really are considering location based upon what we're building there. And that is the end of my presentation. If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very exciting, and I was there. It's tremendous, especially with those who are living in the neighborhood already, to see some of these type of developments that are coming to enhance their neighborhoods. So I know we probably have a couple of questions from some of my colleagues. Mr. Turner-Sloss?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Faber?
Yes.
Is that correct? Thank you. Thank you for being here. It is very exciting. I do have a couple of questions. Just one note, please. In the future, could you make sure you extend the invite to all commission members? From my understanding, some of us didn't receive that invite, so if you would,
Absolutely.
please.
We'll make sure of that.
Thank
We will
you.
have that for one of the ribbon cuttings.
Okay.
Definitely.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then if our schedule permits, I'm sure that 2, maybe 3, maybe all of us will attend. The more the merrier, right? So in regards to the Welcome Home program, very exciting. Congratulations. Like you mentioned, it is the largest award, I believe, in the state, right?
Yes, it was.
Exactly. And so with that, you talked about the first-time home buyers and that it will attract first-time home buyers. Will the Lane Bank partner with the Homeownership Center?
We have a contract signed with both the Homeownership Center and the housing counselors that work with Habitat for Humanity. So we are working with folks that may not be credit ready, and we are also required through the grant to provide a certain amount of hours for the new home buyers for purchasing and understanding how to be a responsible taxpayer.
Great.
So yes, they are a solid partner locked in with a formal agreement.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it fair to say, do you already have some in the queue, some interested parties? Have that it?
So we have, right now, I think our last count was 4 applications that have come through. We will be doing a very strong push here at the end of the month with a concerted effort and marketing plan, reaching out to all of our partners, churches, neighborhood associations, Dayton Tenants Union, all of the locations where folks may be interested in this program.
And you'll share that information with them?
Absolutely will. Yes,
Thank
we'll
you.
get that over to the city.
If you would, Mike, could you pull your slides back up, please? I want to go to the chart before the timeline, the overview prior to. Yes, okay.
That one.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. And so I just wanted to also mention, too, you mentioned like there hasn't been any new build in the Fairview area for over 50 years.
Not in Fairview.
Okay.
Fairview built on Auburn, I believe, last year.
Yeah, exactly. I was getting ready to say in the
right.
Phoenix
Madden
project
Hills, and then the Dayton View Triangle. Wolf Creek has seen recent
Yeah.
development, so
Okay.
yeah. Mhm.
All right.
Not all the
And then-
neighborhoods.
Thank you. The 24 renovations.
Yes.
So that's throughout. What is the process for interested homeowners? Who do they need to contact, or who will be?
So all of the information about the program and the houses is going up on our website. We
Okay.
have a coming soon page with the house listing pictures. So it'll kind of be like going on an MLS, and folks
Okay.
can work with a realtor if they want, but they can come directly to our website to find locations, pricing, the details and characteristics of each house.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's in regards to the 40 new homes, but my question is in
Both.
regards to the.
Yeah, let me
24
clarify. It will be both.
Okay.
So the 40 new builds will simply have their models listed and the location, and then each of the 24 will have listed their exact address and pictures of those houses.
And so the 24
Yeah.
renovated homes, those
Yeah.
are not existing homeowners?
Currently vacant.
They're currently vacant?
Yeah, they are currently vacant houses that we purchased or we got through tax foreclosure.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Kroger. Thank you
Yes.
for that clarification. I appreciate it. I just wanted to see if there was additional dollars available or there was an opportunity for those who live in those areas, existing homeowners, to tap into for.
Yeah, it is with vacant properties with the
Okay.
grant requirements. Yep, so
Thank you.
if we find folks that have a repair need, we do refer them to one of our partners, like the Dayton Home Repair Network.
Yes, very good.
Yep.
I was going to ask.
Yeah,
while we're working.
we've been really spreading a lot of information aside from our grant program when doing outreach and collaborating with like Citywide and other partners. So we're distributing resources where people are in need as we're building right across the street. We do meet the neighbors and attend to the needs that they express.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, absolutely.
The builder, have the builder been identified? Has the
Yes,
builder-
both of our builders are local. One of them is called Ohio Regional Constructors. That is a subsidiary of Brandon Homes. That was actually the HBA's Home Builders Association's Builder of the Year last year.
Okay.
And then also we are working with Jason Morris of Centerstone Homes, and he has built recently down in the Centerville and up in the West Milton area.
Okay, great. I did see in the backup docs, Brandon Homes. I didn't see the center stone, so thank you.
Yes.
And then the correspondence of support. Do we have, Mr. Kroger, do we have anything on record from the various neighborhoods that you mentioned, from the neighborhood associations, adjacent property owners, whatever have you? Is there something in writing?
I don't personally have anything in writing. I know that the Land Bank has been doing extensive engagement in these neighborhoods, and of course, us, along with our Division of Community Engagement, will continue to partner with our partners at the Land Bank for extensive engagement. But I don't have anything in writing saying this is great. I know that the engagement has been extremely positive, so that's where we're at. But we'll continue to be out there in the neighborhoods.
Okay, so we don't need anything, and my question is around to make sure that everyone is fully aware and that we don't have any surprises or any concerns that may develop during the
Yes.
process.
Yes, we've been working with the Community Engagement Division, and we've had representation from their coordinators at every public
So we
engagement.
do have something in writing if we're working with community engagement, because I would imagine they would send a correspondence out to inform residents that, hey, there's a meeting taking place, here's a potential new development. So there is something to note that we have, in fact, been in communications.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly the invites and all the evidence that meetings have occurred, certainly.
Okay, thank you.
And the other thing I would just add to that is that this is really just the authorization for the
Right.
72, before we haven't, completed the closing and all that stuff. So that all still needs to occur.
Yes.
Engagement will be ongoing.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. The sale price, the price point, do we have an idea?
So with the grant, we are restricted to have a maximum sale price no greater than $180,000.
Okay. All right, great, thank you.
Yep.
I know there was some concerns around that. And then I think there was too, the point of inflation and just the
Yes.
ability of having the labor shortages and materials and all of that great
Yep.
stuff that goes along with that.
Yes, and we are working hard with our contractors to do price control, and
Yes.
we are locked into our base unit construction costs.
Okay, thank you. And then the other question, this may be for Mr. Kroger and as well as our Community Engagement Division, but have, adjacent property owners been notified? Because, and you raised a very valid point, Mr. Kroger, and I appreciate you identifying or highlighting that point, in regards that some of the lots may be buildable, some of them may be, in fact, extended lots. So once we go through the process, I would just ask, what are the steps that are being made to make sure that if, in fact, there is an adjacent property owner or someone, I've been wanting that lot for the past 10 years, I mow it and whatever have you, So that process is in place, and we are in conversation. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I can speak to that point. We have relied on citywide development and their neighborhood coordinators for that direct outreach. They already have established relationships and have gone street by street, notifying people, door knocking, and also have communicated with the neighborhood presidents to reach out to their neighbors for those exact locations. Right now, those locations are only locked in and identified for Madden Hills and Fairview at this point. When we get to that step for Dayton View Triangle and Wolf Creek, we will do the same exact outreach.
Okay. I would encourage, I don't know if you have or have not already, I think you may have some time ago, back in maybe June, July of last year, of course. But I would encourage you to attend the Fairview Neighborhood Association meeting, which is Tuesday, the 27th, and it starts at 6 p.m. at Northwest Library. I was getting ready to say Northwest Recreation Center, but
Yes, of
nonetheless-
course.
Okay, yeah, I would encourage, if you could, just to kind of bring an update, let everyone know, get an idea of the timeline itself. And I think from a couple last questions. The permit process and the timeline. Ms. Dixine, where are we on that process? I know we are trying to expedite that process. I know we have a couple of concerns there with the labor shortage, whatever have you. But to Ms. Faber's point, and I know I've also received a couple of correspondence in that area, could you just speak to that a little bit and what we're doing to help in that?
Well,
area?
there are a number of things being done with regards to permitting. We're working to be able to, by the end of the year, have electronic review, electronic submission and review. We've already accelerated electronic review for the contractors that we have under contract to assist and supplement the staffing. We're working on some reorganization around in the building department. There's a number of things happening. Clearly, our folks are very, very much aware of this project and are already have an eye to the permit review for this process.
Okay. You said at the end of the year, we're doing the electronic submission and, okay. The only other comment that I would make in regards to, like, as we're building these various areas, and I'm sure we are already on track and aware, but to make sure that we're intentional. And I know we've had conversation with the city manager about going in and looking at those structures that are in fact blighted, because we don't want to do new builds and we have this shiny new house and then next door we have a blighted nuisance structure. So being very intentional about where we put in our dollars, and I know we are, right? That's the reason why we identify these two areas, and this is something that has been well overdue, especially for Madden Hills. I know back in 22 and even prior to, Madden Hills were very adamant about continuing that development. So just making sure that we're intentional, having conversations with the residents, and finding ways and means to leverage our dollars in additional projects. So.
Absolutely, yes, and your thinking is right on point. We're doing exactly that and working with the housing department and to address the nuisance structures. So it's really an all hands on deck, again, to just brag about the relationship the land bank has already established with the city. So we have identified those target areas, and we actually took down a demolition over the winter in Madden Hills just to kind of kick off this project.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I really love the way you're thinking, because we're right there with you, and I appreciate that. We are being very intentional about this project, and to have the neighbors and the neighborhoods, not be told that the houses are coming, but have them ask, do we want these houses here? And they've all welcomed them. So I really do appreciate, the attention that you're suggesting, and we will continue to do that collaborative work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm very excited. I look forward to the next ribbon cutting. Last point, I've received a couple of concerns, and I think you've already addressed it in terms of Madden Hills. There was some confusion. I don't want to say confusion, but maybe some misinformation in terms of like 1-car garage, 2-car garage, front porch, and making sure that it meets the aesthetics, the current aesthetics of both neighborhoods. So I would just, again, really encourage you all to, which I'm sure you are.
Yep, part of the process is
Okay.
we're working with the contractors
All right.
and bringing them to the neighborhood meetings to dialogue about those.
All right,
Yep.
great.
Thank you
Great
very
job.
much.
Congratulations. Thank you. Look forward to working with you. Thank
good?
Mayor. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Fairchild.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. Just thank you, Commissioner, for your
You got
questions. Those were helpful. Many of mine were answered. And I want to say up front to our staff and to your staff, this is incredible work, and it's something long overdue to get away from demo to actually doing neighborhood development again. And so this is very, very exciting to me. Can you help me understand just the economics of this? The price point is 180. I think you said that the base construction cost is already.
The economics of it are, we, the land bank, are losing money on this project. We would not be able to do this without the support from the state of Ohio. So on the back end, the land bank is taking a hit that our board is prepared and unfortunately needs to happen to pull this off. I can't give you the exact math off the top of my head,
Okay.
But I would be happy to share that with you.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's helpful, because, I mean, this is the big question about how we do neighborhood development when the
Yes.
cost to build is here, the price
Right.
point is here,
Yes.
the subsidy is here.
Yes.
I'm just trying to figure out how it all works.
Yeah, and right now, it does need to be subsidized, but one of our builders has expressed enthusiasm for the ability to bolster the market in the neighborhoods enough to be able to build and sell a house at market sale.
Yeah.
So that is the ultimate goal, but we need to establish those comps first.
Sure.
Yeah.
What square footage would these houses be?
So one of the models is just under 1,500 square feet. One is 1,350, and one is 1,452.
Okay,
Yep.
that's helpful, because I'm thinking about the triangle, because I live in the triangle.
Yeah, yeah.
My 2,000 square foot home doesn't, I don't think markets at 180. And so I'm, again, trying to figure out how this,
Yeah.
so I'll work it out. It'll be great if we can sell a 1,500 square foot for 180 and triangle and boost those market values, those
Yeah.
property values back up.
That's the goal. We
Okay.
hope to get there. We'll see how the sales go, but
Yeah.
they won't start at 180. That I will promise you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Have we done community engagement in all 4 of these neighborhoods, or the
We have
first 2?
started to begin the Phase 2 community engagement, so we're establishing communication, have already established communication with Wolf Creek, and we are looking for strong partners in Dayton View Triangle. So I'd be happy to come to your next neighborhood meeting.
All right, well, I'm sure Keegan Sickles is probably watching
Yes,
right now.
Keegan is our point of contact right now,
Yeah.
but I know there's a transition underway. So again, we're working with Citywide as our partner to guide us forward.
Yeah, and the other piece is I'm trying to think about the mix. You know, how does this housing mix meet our saturation in terms of subsidized housing, market
Yeah.
rate? Where do we categorize this kind of housing? Is this market rate, or is this?
So this is market rate housing. These folks will have a mortgage just like you and I. We will get the CRA tax credits associated with that, but this is not LIHTC housing, if that's what you're referring to. If folks have the ability to use a housing voucher, that can go towards their mortgage, but this is not what I would call subsidized housing by look and feel. But it does address an audience of the missing middle, that workforce, you know, those new teachers,
Right.
those nurses, folks that just are kind of bumped out of the
Right.
market, and this is the step that they need.
Great.
Yeah.
No, this is awesome. This is a missing piece. That's very
Exactly.
And then, you know, I know architectural fit, I think, is another question that a lot of our neighborhoods, I know that in Dayton Triangle, we had a Habitat house built. Once it was built, the neighbors are like, that wasn't what we expected, and it doesn't really meet in with the other architecture structures in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So is that question being addressed?
That has been top of our mind since the beginning of our RFP process. So the builders that we selected responded with various products that would match the look and feel of what we presented in our RFP. So all of the neighborhoods have their different zoning typologies, and we included those in there along with physical examples on the locations of the streets we were targeting. So they will match the fabric aesthetically of the street, and giving the neighbors the options and the discussion moments to see what we can build and the types. So that's why what's being built in Madden Hills will not be the same as what's being built in Dayton View Triangle. Each will be its own unique structure.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
And just, I appreciate the back and forth with you and Commissioner Turner-Sloss around being strategic and where we place these homes and making sure that we're increasing stability and not putting a property in a place that will
Absolutely.
likely deteriorate if we're not successful.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, good. Commissioner Shaw.
Yeah, well, my colleagues have asked, and you've answered all of the questions that I had, but I do want to thank you for this great partnership. I think it is going to transform, it is transforming neighborhoods already, so just great hope for the future, and this is the way this program is supposed to work.
Thank you. Yes,
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
that. Thank you.
Commissioner Joseph.
Also want to add my thanks, and I just want to say that the staff deserves a lot of thanks, as well as your organization too, because this is a culmination of well over a decade of planning. Some of the lots that we see here that are being considered for this project here, the houses were demoed with our 2010, I believe, money, or 2009 money. So it's been a long road to get this to where it is today. This is a dream we've had for a long time, going from walking through neighborhoods with tons of blighted houses to get them demolished, to get new housing up. It's awesome, and I really appreciate your tenaciousness, your organization, Ms. Dixon, your tenaciousness, your organization, and my colleagues throughout the years who have been tenacious about this one goal of making sure that we improve our neighborhoods, provide housing to people who need it and deserve it. This is a great day, so I really look forward to the culmination of this program, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, we share that.
Yes, again, very exciting. The time that you have been working on this, and my colleagues as well, and staff, for the last probably 10 years or so. This puts us in a good space. It obviously puts you in a very good position to be able to respond to all the questions that you're getting, because these type of situations were things that were brought to us, again, over the years. So, again, thank you so much for your contributions and your comments.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, I appreciate it.
Okay. Ms. Dixon, do you have anything else?
Yes, Your Honor, I have one more item I'd like to highlight. We have our first revised appropriation on calendar for the first reading this morning, ordinance number 32146-25. The appropriations, as you're aware, are our time to bring forward budget authority for many of the pre-approved budget items. Remember, we don't, once the budget is passed, that doesn't mean that the departments have full budget authority. That's a best practice for us to be able to control and address as we're going along, because obviously it's budgetary items are very fluid in many cases. So I'd like to call up the Director of Management and Budget, Abby Patel-Jones, to walk through the revised appropriation.
Thank you, City Manager.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioner, City Manager, and Clerk. Let me get the presentation up. All right, so as the city manager mentioned, this is our first revised appropriation. We have few slides to show the details of the changes included in the first revised appropriation for your reference, and I'm going to provide a very high-level overview of some of the changes. The first revised appropriation is $22.5 million, or 2.3% higher than the original appropriation. And so starting with the general fund has a net increase of $2.8 million. This net increase is primarily supported for the NATO-related personnel and contractual costs across fire, police, public works, and other jurisdictions funded by the state NATO grant. The other large item I want to highlight here is of the $680,000 increase in public works, $615,000 addresses the higher real estate tax assessments from the Miami Valley Conservancy District for the flood protection system maintenance and capital improvements. Other increases, as displayed on this slide, are related to the sponsorship for the 30th anniversary of the Peace Accord, clerk of court office upgrades, homelessness initiative, police facility upgrades, and grant cash matches. These budget increases are funded in part by $708,000 reduction in the general fund contingency and interdepartmental transfers. So moving on to the other funds, starting with special projects, has an increase of $3.6 million. Major adjustment includes, starting with the development fund, off the $2.6 million adjustment to the development fund, $2 million is for the Center City building improvements, and $600,000 supports 2025 economic development projects that can provide job opportunities to city residents and expand our local tax base. $650,000 is for the new housing program, which is supported by, as you know, the passage of the Issue 6. And we are in the process of working through the details of the program, and so like I said, the details are forthcoming. Next we have still with the special projects. Other changes listed on this slide includes community golf capital investments, Levitt Pavilion support for the AMP music series, and budget authority continue the violence disruption program. All budget adjustments in the special project funds are funded from available cash balances in the respective fund category, including the golf fund, which, as you know, operates with its own revenue source. Moving to the special revenue funds, has an increase of $11.1 million, and this is also funded from available cash balances or dedicated grant sources. Budget adjustment includes de-icing and snow removal related to the 2025 winter operations, sustainability initiatives, thoroughfare resurfacing, and streetlight repair and maintenance costs. To highlight a few of these adjustments, $250,000 increase in the West Dayton Development Fund is supporting the local development initiatives, including TAP fee program and assistance to Exoburger LLC in the Wright Dunbar neighborhood. $5.5 million budget increases in the HUD funding aligned with the annual action plan, including the $2.5 million for the new lead hazard reduction grant. And then lastly, $4 million is establishing the expenditure budget authority for the Wright factory earmark, and $350,000 for EDGE grant to support a local business bond right distributors. Moving to the capital series, for the general capital, $3.1 million increase is funded from transportation grants, operating transfers, and available cash balances. In the general capital, the adjustment includes Main and 3rd Street streetscape, 34 North Main safety improvements, West Stewart Street enhancements, community golf capital investments, including a new mower, and fencing upgrades, police facility improvements, and a citywide computer refresh project. Moving to aviation operating and capital funds, has a total increase of $1.7 million. 1.5 is in aviation operating, which includes higher property taxes, marketing, utilities, facility and equipment maintenance, and temporary staffing. And in the aviation capital series, we are seeing $234,500 increase, which is for the ODOT funded grant cash match, transferring from the operating into the capital. And then lastly, we have our fleet management and home service fund that saw an increase of $225,000, and this is to fund upgrades to the fleet garage ventilation system. That being said, that concludes the increases for the first revised appropriation, and I will take any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, questions?
Yes.
Turner-Sloss?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Patel-Jones. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this will in fact be on our dashboard, right? We'll have this information.
Correct.
Again, this is an eye chart, so it's a little hard to read. And then you've provided us with hard copies, is that right? We have this, okay.
Yeah, a more detail, because to make it fit on the presentation, we don't
understand.
have all the columns, but a more detailed spreadsheet is uploaded to the city's website.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that. Just wanted to make sure that we know that is in fact available to the public. The only other question that I have, and I may have lost it, so that must mean I can ask offline. Oh, yes, I know what it was. In regards to the homeless initiative, is that speaking to the award that we received from the Continuum of Care? Is that what that addition is coming from? No, it's not. Okay.
That's for an additional outreach worker to help connect unhoused individuals to resources.
Okay, that's right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, that's all I have. If I have any additional, I'll work through Ms. Dixon for you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Commissioner Fairchild.
No, I got some additional questions, but I can get them offline. And to be clear, that we're talking about the $40,000 increase to the planning department for the homeless program. That's the
Yes, that was my
Yes.
question.
Okay,
That's-
great.
That's correct.
Good?
Good.
Okay, Commissioner Shaw.
I'm good.
Good? Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
That's all you have? So before we ask for approval from the city manager's recommendations, Ms. Blackshear, are there any citizens who are signed up to speak on city manager's recommendations?
One citizen has registered to speak. I would like to state that there's a 3-minute time. As you address this commission, we ask that you state your name and address for the record. At that time, I will turn on the green light. When the green light comes on, you will have 3 minutes to speak. After you have spoken 2.5 minutes, a yellow light will come on. You will have 30 seconds remaining to speak. When the red light comes on, you'll be asked to cease your comments and to take your seat. To the audience in attendance, be mindful, this is a business meeting, and we kindly request that during this portion of the meeting, you refrain from any hand clapping, finger snapping, and conversations that will prevent the City Commission from hearing the speaker's comments. I call to the podium Lynn Lamance. Your name and address.
Okay, Lynn Lamance, 1061 Bertram Avenue.
You may begin.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to speak regarding the land bank transactions. They were really good to come out to the neighborhood. I do have feedback, however, we didn't get a precise list of addresses, but my concerns have always been regarding blight. If you take a look at the 2000 block of Ravenwood, it needs some help. In particular, 2072 Ravenwood is an apartment building on that block where it looks like the lots are surrounding this apartment building. The owner has been cited by housing inspection. Scott Zeller is really good with communication. A lot of people are not, but he, however, is. It's been gone to housing court, taken away the owner's driver's license. However, it looks, it's like a third world country. Also, the 1900 block of Rugby is, I don't know how you can build almost $200,000 homes in areas where it needs remediation. As Tony Kroger explained, there is awful blight, abandonment. The Phoenix project did not get all of the vacant properties in Fairview. They did not get all of the blight, okay? So that's my concern. I had raised with Ms. Jasmine the Phoenix house at 2231 Salem Avenue. The people there have a number of cars, and they do have an at-home daycare. They're already using the City of Dayton lot next door for the kids', activities and vehicles. So that would have been a perfect lot link if that program exists, and if they would purchase a Phoenix house. From my understanding, there is still no purchases of Phoenix properties in my neighborhood. The concerns regarding there is no hospital in our area for an increase in population. There is also the Phoenix police are not visible in my neighborhood. So again, with an increase in population, are they going to be more visible? But again, it's mainly regarding the blight in the area, and who wants to buy a house, and you're looking at this apartment building with tires and junk and gutters falling off. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Lamans.
That is all, Your Honor.
Okay. Commissioners, additional questions for the city manager's recommendations? Commissioner Turner-Sloss?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Dixon, for the recommendations that you have provided to us this morning. I do have a couple of questions. Very excited to see calendar item number 4, as you mentioned, bringing this park back online. I really appreciate you and the staff and the commitment in addressing the concerns and the recommendations from the community. And I know it's on topic, but it's a different area, but it's actually around the corner. Residence Park, do we have a timeline for Residence Park? I know that it's underway, but do we, and I know there may be some concerns with the shelter, but if we could.
I can follow up.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon, I appreciate that. And then, again, I would like to thank Ms. Faber, Mr. Kroger, the entire Community Engagement Division, as well as the Planning Department. Thank you for the recommendations. Happy to see calendar item number 10 and the partnership with the Land Bank for the 72 vacant parcels. Thank you, Ms. Faber, for your willingness to address the number of concerns and the questions. And thank you for also, and I think Ms. Lamans highlighted and commended you and the staff for the engagement piece that you all have executed thus far. So I hope that we will continue those efforts. And then the address that she mentioned, the apartment building, figuring out what we need to do to address that. Thank you, Ms. Iser, for being here. And I see your head nodding that you have acknowledged that that is in fact the issue. The only other thing that I wanted to mention in regards to calendar item number 10. So I did see like the sales agreement, all of the different information that was a part of that. So it is related, but again, it goes back to calendar item that was on the 7th May agenda, and that is in regards to the police, the proposed police station, the hub. So I did send over additional questions. And so I would ask if we could, Ms. Dixon, once you get an opportunity, if you could follow up with some of those additional questions, and that being one, the sales agreement, the feasibility study, the title, the quitclaim deed, is it a general, what are we doing, and will the lien in fact be clear once in fact the back taxes, whatever have you, is paid. So again, a series of questions, but in particular, I'm very interested in seeing that feasibility study, because I know Commissioner Fairchild raised the point as to the cost, and that feasibility would show that. And again, I really want to see that sales agreement, and if we can justify that $1.4 million. I understand that the market's hot, and we want to get in there and extrapolate and really make that investment in that area, but there's a lot of concerns, and I know there's seismic conditions and all this, but just really having an understanding and the public's understanding as to why that site was in fact identified. And we definitely need to do a better job in making sure that the public is fully aware of why that site was selected and all of the conditions that go along with it, and to really justify that $1.4 million.
That work is in progress, Commissioner, and as we talked about before, it's very difficult. You can't come forward with all of that information while we are...
That's fair. In negotiation.
And the city wasn't masked. I mean, we were masked. They didn't know the city was the purchaser, because those numbers go up if people know the city is the purchaser. So there's not a lot of upfront engagement that can happen, right? So we are working to pull all that information together.
Okay, yeah, I really want to see that sales agreement, so thank you. I appreciate the work on that, and I know it's a little different situation in that regard. We're working through the land bank, and that was another question that I posed early on, and you made that distinction in regards to the Trustler, because it was a part of the land bank, but again, just really getting background information and making sure that the public truly understands why, in fact, that site was selected. The other thing that I wanted to point out, too, is I think we need to revisit the use of the word station versus hub. When we talk about community-oriented policing and having that model in place, I would encourage our PD, as well as the planning staff, as well as Mr. Parlett, yourself, our leadership, is to really look at the definition of hub and really honing in on community-oriented and having the face and the involvement of the community involved in the process overall. So thank you. That's all I have for
Okay, thank you.
calendar. Thank you.
Commissioner Fairchild.
Yeah, I don't have any question on the calendar. I do want to use this moment to explain. I have a 10 o'clock commitment at Dayton Children's, so I'll have to excuse myself at some point, and want my colleagues to know, as well as
we got
the public.
Some other
Me too, Commissioner.
commitments
Yeah.
as well.
So are you telling me to
Okay.
put it down? My question.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, Commissioner Shaw.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay.
I
Joseph?
just want to acknowledge the administration's purchase of some new EV Blazers. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Working very hard, I know, and every opportunity you get, I know you're taking advantage of it. So thank you very much.
Okay, I'm good. I'd like to have a motion then to approve the city manager's recommendations.
I move to approve the city manager's recommendations.
Second motion.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to approve the city manager's recommendations. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Okay. Okay, legislation, Ms. Blackshear.
First reading, emergency resolution number 6868-25, authorizing the city manager to accept a lead hazard control reduction capacity building grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for a total amount of $2,500,000.00 on behalf of the city of Dayton and declaring an emergency.
Having been declared an emergency, I move for the immediate passage of resolution number 6868-25.
Second.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to declare resolution number 6868-25 an emergency. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay.
Second reading, emergency resolution number 6868-25, authorizing the city manager to accept a lead hazard control reduction capacity building grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for a total amount of $2,500,000.00 on behalf of the city of Dayton. Mayor Mims.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner-Sloss.
Aye.
First reading, emergency resolution number 6869-25, approving the submission of a grant application, authorizing the city manager to apply for the fiscal year 2025 Nature Works grant from the state of Ohio through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources on behalf of the city of Dayton and declaring an emergency.
Having been declared as an emergency, I move for the immediate passage of emergency resolution number 6869-25.
Second motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to have resolution number 6869-25 declared an emergency. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
Second reading, emergency resolution number 6869-25, approving the submission of a grant application, authorizing the city manager to apply for the fiscal year 2025 Nature Works grant from the state of Ohio through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources on behalf of the city of Dayton. Mayor Mims.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner-Sloss.
Aye.
First reading ordinance number 32146-25, amending the city's appropriations for the year 2025. Second reading resolution number 6866-25, authorizing the city manager to accept H2 Ohio chloride reduction grant equipment from the Ohio Environmental Protection Agency for an amount of $73,317. Mayor Mims.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner-Sloss.
Aye.
Second reading resolution number 6867-25, amending resolution number 6236-17. Mayor Mims.
Aye.
Commissioner Joseph.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Fairchild.
Aye.
Turner-Sloss.
Aye.
That is all legislation, Your Honor.
Okay, we have a bunch of board appointments. Let's go through those as quickly as we can. First, Commissioner Joseph.
I got it.
You got it?
Yep, yep.
Okay, thank you.
So, Your Honor, before we make the board appointments, I just want to make a point, please, for the record. In the future, can we please make sure that we have notification prior to the board appointments, what the applications, the process, and when these appointments are, in fact, when they would come up before our review and approval. So I would just ask that that be noted. Thank you, Ms. Blackshear. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
I move for the appointment of Lorca Manaz to the North Central Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to appoint Lorca.
Lorca, yes.
Yes, Munoz to the North Central Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Thank you. Next, Commissioner Turner-Sloss, you have one? No, Commissioner
No,
Shaw.
it's me. Yeah. I move to reappoint Jesse Jackson, Brenda Moore, and Zante Richardson to the North Central Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31, 2026.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to reappoint Jesse Jackson, Brenda Moore, and Zante Richardson to the North Central Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Thank you. Commissioner
Your-
Turner-Sloss.
Yes, sir. Your Honor, I move to reappoint Mr. Walter Murch and Mr. Matt Tepper to the Northeast Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to reappoint Walter Murch and Matt Tepper to the Northeast Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay, Commissioner Fairchild.
I move to reappoint Matthew Carey, Mike Schomer, and Peggy Weaver to the Southeast Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026.
Second.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to reappoint Matthew Carey, Mike Schomer, and Peggy Weaver to the Southeast Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay.
Your Honor, I move to appoint Ms. Sherry Comwell to the Southeast Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, then probably moved and seconded to reappoint Sherry Conrail to the Southeast Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Commissioner Shaw.
I move to appoint Stephanie Davis to the West Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31, 2026.
I second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to appoint Stephanie Davis to the West Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. All right. Commissioner Turner-Sloss.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I move to reappoint Ms. Camille Slaughter and Mr. Ryan Walker to the West Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to reappoint Camille Slaughter and Ryan Walker to the West Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. Yeah. Commissioner Shaw.
I move to appoint Debbie Chess and Bethany Ramsey to the Greater Downtown Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31, 2026.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay, it's been probably moved and seconded to appoint Debbie Chess and Bethany Ramsey to the Greater Downtown Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
Your Honor, I move to reappoint Mr. Michael King, Ms. Barbara Smith to the Greater Downtown Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026.
Second, someone?
Second.
Okay. All right. It's been probably moved and seconded to reappoint Michael King and Barbara Smith to the Greater Downtown Priority Land Use Board for a term ending December 31st, 2026. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
I move
Okay.
to appoint Kelly Burrell to the Environmental Advisory Board for an unexpired term ending November 27, 2026.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Okay. It's been probably moved to appoint Kelly Burrow to the Environmental Advisory Board for a unexpired term ending November 27, 2026. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Okay. Got that one done. Ms. Blackshear, do you have any citizens who are registered to speak?
Mayor, Commissioners, 9 citizens have registered. I would like to remind everyone of the 3-minute time limit. Call to the podium Lynn Lamance.
Hi, Lynn Lamance, 1061 Bertram Avenue, Dayton, Ohio.
Good morning again.
Good morning. I did want to speak regarding the police station hub plan. I normally do not look into things for downtown Dayton, but upon looking at this, I feel, or I hope in the future anyways, if this is already a done deal, that the city can do more of its homework in the future. For instance, Sergeant Saunders, he's the one presenting the plan. He's a police. He's not a real estate agent or I don't understand why this did not go through the planning department. I don't understand that at all. But the project, when you look up the LLC of this organization, okay, it lists the name of Joseph Lucas, a real estate attorney that I come across his name on quite a bit. And again, regarding vacant properties and blight, or when renters complain about their landlord, his name comes up quite a bit. May 19th, they actually changed the ownership through the state of Ohio to a Sherry Hathaway. So it's I guess he uses these LLCs as shell corporations to hide. I find that to be very suspect. And I want to thank Fairchild for raising the most questions regarding this deal, because it's very suspect, and there needs to be more of a vetting process. And again, I don't understand why the housing or the planning department was not utilized. If you look up Joseph Lucas, you can see numerous properties in his names, in his LLC names, or if you want to say shell corporations, as it turns to be. Thankfully, Treasurer McManus has an open case, 2025 CV 02269 against him. There are numerous property taxes by him and his LLCs that remain unpaid. I mean, so much property tax. If these people or Joseph Lucas paid these property taxes, we could pay for something for the young people at the hub. That's what that would cover, or buses for DPS. That's my concern. If you look at Judge Logan's docket, his name appears numerous times. If you check quitclaim deeds with our new recorder, his name is up there numerous times, numerous evictions in court. I think we should think about something else and do something else, as well as more vetting of these people. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Andy Altenberg. Name and address for the record.
Okay, it's Andy Altenberg. I live at 148 Telford Avenue.
May begin.
I work in the city, Dayton. I don't know how I got up here first, because there's myself and a bunch of my colleagues who are going to come here to address this issue. I work, again, for Miami Valley Housing Opportunities. We work with the folks in Montgomery County that are street homeless, and I'm an outreach worker. So this morning I started at 3 a.m. Because part of our job is to identify that folks are eligible. In other words, they're street homeless. So we're traveling Montgomery County and looking for folks who are living in their vehicles, or living in tents, or living in the woods, in garages, abandoned buildings, et cetera. And we're linking with those folks with services and helping them to get on a waiting list for housing. This morning, we'd hoped to pick up one of our clients who was going to come and address this commission, our city, to talk about what it's like to be uprooted repeatedly. Because many of our clients who are living in encampments, particularly if they're visible and there's complaints, they get moved to somewhere else. And of course, the city is doing a good job of communicating with us and kind of giving us a heads up on when this is going to happen or where it's going to happen. So we'll go out to those folks and talk to them about, just give them a warning that they're going to have to move. But we have to communicate with them, keep track of them. If we lose track of them, then they fall off the waiting list for housing and have to start over at some later time. And these folks have encampments. They don't have a lot, but they do have some precious things, things that are valuable to them. So that's the piece that I want to talk about. I know my coworkers are going to come in and add to this. But, so I think we're just asking the city to coordinate with us to take care of our most vulnerable clients. That's the kind of place we want to live in, where the weakest and the most vulnerable are taken care of. So it would be nice if there was a place they could go to. I know the shelter is there, and the shelter is an option for some of them. Some of them it's not. They've been trespassed. They can't go there. Or they have a pet, and many do, and they don't have the papers that they need to bring their pet to the shelter. So that's sort of congregate setting doesn't work for all of our clients, particularly if they have severe and persistent mental illness. Living in a congregate setting is not okay. If they have social anxiety disorders, et cetera. That's pretty distressful, and so they can't live in that situation. So thanks for hearing us out.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, sir.
John Whitfield.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Your name and address for the record.
I am Jonna Whitfield. My address is 3804 Calhoun Street, Dayton, Ohio.
You may begin.
Good morning, Commissioners and Mayor Mills. I am a PATH outreach worker with Miami Valley Housing Opportunities, and I thank you for your time. I just want to express some concerns about the recent actions taken to clear the homeless encampments within our city. I believe the current approach of encampment sweeps are counterproductive, and they have negative impacts on both the individuals experiencing homelessness and the outreach workers that are dedicated in assisting them. Many of these individuals have made it to the actual county wait list, and they are just patiently awaiting for their housing referrals. So the sudden upheaval in the encampment sweeps can delay their progress towards stable housing, and it actually exacerbates their challenges. Moreover, these actions place an undue burden on us outreach workers, because we are spending a lot of our time trying to find our displaced clients because their encampments have been swept. And we could be utilizing those canvassing efforts into reaching other individuals, new individuals in the community that needs housing and support. So this shift focus hinders our ability to effectively work with the homeless population. Thank you for your consideration and your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
For your comments, thank you.
Leanna Rupp.
Hello, my name is Leanna Rupp, and I live at 48 Edgar Avenue, Dayton, Ohio. I also am an outreach worker for Miami Valley Housing Opportunities. I live in the same community that I work in, so I see a lot of different things, but I really wanted to speak on the impact of the encampment removals on our individuals that are experiencing homelessness. They lose contact with us outreach workers, and a lot of us are the primary link to the essential services that they need, whether that's doctor's appointments, SUD appointments, mental health. And when we lose them, we struggle to maintain continuity of care, and that includes like monitoring health conditions, medication compliance for the ones that are mentally ill, and it hinders the access to case management. Displacement, when they clear these encampments, it also results in the loss of their medications, their identifications, and then it's just kind of like we're chasing our tails to re-get these things that were lost in the sweep. So I just wanted to discuss, what they experience and what we also experience as outreach workers trying to combat the homeless problem here in our county and our city. And
Thank
that's
you,
all I
Ms.
got
Jackson.
for now.
Thank you for your
Thank you for your comments.
Jill Bucaro. Name and address.
Jill Bucaro, 1015 Carlisle Avenue.
May begin.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Commissioners. I do have the pleasure of knowing many of you, but for those of you that I don't know, my name is Jill Bucaro. I'm a City of Dayton resident and homeowner, and I've worked here in Dayton as a social worker for the entirety of my career. I'm glad that you guys are getting to hear from people who are on the ground doing the really hard work in our city today, and I'm hoping that you take a bit more time in consideration before you utilize city resources to disrupt the encampments where your citizens, your constituents, are living. I know the importance of policies and procedures and private property and safety, but in conversations that I've had, I've heard that there are often direct orders from City Hall to law enforcement to sweep these encampments that have no notable safety or health concerns. I don't know if that's true, I just know that's what I've been told. And as the individuals who we elect to oversee all operations of the city, I would urge you to take time out of your schedules to monitor these orders. Do you guys know how many encampments have been torn down this year? How many people have been displaced if they had anywhere else to go before it happened? Do you know what that chain of command looks like within your own organization? My fear is that these orders are following a familiar pattern. Suburban commuters and real estate investors want the city to look cleaner, nicer, more palatable. They, unlike the people in the camps, have access to power. They make a call, and because seeing unhoused folks on their way into work makes them feel uncomfortable or sad or irritated, the lives of our most vulnerable citizens are disrupted. We stand today on the eve of an event where I have witnessed resources mobilized in our city in a way that I have never, ever, in my 15 years of living here, ever seen. Resources mobilized, a literal hotel built, tons of concrete poured, all to impress people who wouldn't even notice if we were wiped off the map tomorrow, and all at a time when the most dire housing needs of your own citizens continue to go ignored. Why does it seem like that we are the most invested in the opinions of people who would never deign to send their children to our schools, to visit our downtown library, or to buy a house in our city? I am ready for leadership that values people, the people you have promised to serve, over appearances and the approval of the privileged. When is the last time you or your staff have spent time in the homeless shelters, at the downtown hub, at a City of Dayton municipal court arraignment on a Monday morning? These are the places that I frequent, the voices that I hear every day, and they deserve your ear too. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Ms. McCarthy.
thank you for your comments.
Tanja Catton. Name and address, please.
Tanya Catron, 7345 Far Hills Lane. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
And thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Tanya, and I want to explain to you that I am the executive director for a harm reduction organization here. I have been doing street-level outreach for 8 years in your city, and I have not seen it get better. It's gotten worse. There are, many of you know, the encampments that have been present for 2 years were swept 2 weeks ago. That encampment was there for 2 years. I've worked with those people. Some of them were stabilizing on mental health and MAT medication so that they could go to treatment. Because I also am a business development representative for the Recovery Center of Ohio, so I also coordinate people to get into treatment. While I understand that you want to maintain the city's aesthetics and public safety, but you have to recognize that simply,
Sorry, take your
that
time.
simply ordering the destruction of these encampments is not a solution. In fact, it's making it worse. We're not just displacing individuals, we are failing to meet their fundamental needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as you know, housing is the foundation upon which all other needs are built. Until we address the critical issue of affordable and accessible housing, we cannot expect to tackle other pressing concerns such as health, safety, and stability. We could provide every individual that is experiencing homelessness in the city with a housing voucher, but we do not have the physical dwellings to house them. Moreover, if we were to provide each person with treatment options, we are also facing a significant shortage of treatment beds. There are simply not enough resources to accommodate those in need. This is a systemic issue that requires a comprehensive response rather than a temporary fix that pushes our people further into the shadows. Like you've heard people speak today, when you disrupt these encampments, we are not able to find. I'm currently looking for a lady who is actively living with AIDS and not on medication because her encampment was disrupted and we cannot find her. She was supposed to be here today to speak to you. So I urge this council to reconsider the current approach. Instead of demolishing camps, maybe we could focus on creating viable solutions that address the root causes of homelessness. We need to continue to advocate for increased affordable housing, expand treatment options, and provide comprehensive support services. I think we should invest in long-term solutions rather than the short-term fixes. Together, I do believe that we can work towards a city that prioritizes the dignity and well-being of all its residents.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Ms. Katrina.
Kathy Rao. Name and address, please.
My name is Kathy Rye. I live at 114 Green Street.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, and I'm going to keep my comments brief. I'm here today just to remind us that homelessness is a crisis, not a crime. And there are best practices for how to deal with encampments. I'm a researcher in the community and also a volunteer. I would like to share, please, a document. This is the 19 strategies that came last year. It was published by the federal government on how to deal with encampments. We are not following best practices, and we need to be. Of all the cities in America that should be a shining light of how to deal with the unhoused, it should be our city. I'm going to read a few comments from that and then close. Like clean air, water, and food, affordable and accessible housing is a basic human need necessary for the health of people and communities. Homelessness is a public health crisis that should be treated with the same urgency as a tornado, wildfire, or pandemic, all which cause displacement from homes. We would never treat folks suffering from the aftermath of a tornado the way we treat people living in encampments. It's also critical to acknowledge that encampments will continue to exist until we prevent more people from losing homes in the first place. And I was so excited today to hear the prevention efforts of our community. In fact, I'm so glad I came just to hear the land bank, so thank you to the land bank. When we look at best practices and some of the things that you've heard previous people say, one of the recommendations that it be a more collaborative effort, and that would include on the day of closing an encampment, there should be a team of people there, including crisis responders. Most people living in encampments have struggled and suffered with many crises. Seeing the place where you live plowed over, losing all your belongings is trauma. And closing an encampment without having a team of folks on hand, in my opinion, is actually a crime. And it's a violation of someone's basic human rights. Best practice also includes making sure that folks' belongings are safely secured, even though they know it's coming. And let me add, best practice is a 30-day notice that an encampment is going to close. Everyone involved, including crisis workers, should be informed. We give people notification of eviction. We should do the same with people living in an encampment. And I could go on, but I've left the document. There are several, and I just would really encourage us to have a more collaborative effort with this. And again, I want to thank you. I know that it's a tough time. I want to also add, I was just at a conference last week in California. Homelessness is expected to increase by about 67% in the next 2 years, and we have got to come up with a collaborative effort to support our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
Thank you.
Heather Wilson. Name and address, please.
Heather Wilson, 4319 Wallbridge Trail, Beaver Creek.
You may begin.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. Fine, thank you.
Thank you for having me. I had many other things planned to say, but I am a program services director at Miami Valley Housing Opportunities, and I oversee all of the great staff that you heard earlier talk about their concerns with the homeless populations and the closures of our encampments. Just to kind of piggyback off of what they've said, continuity of care is a concern. We are displacing people who we've approached and worked with for several months, sometimes years, who refuse services, who are now willing to engage with us, who are now willing to engage in substance use treatment, mental health treatment. We get those services in place for them. We go to take them to their appointment, and they're gone. We don't know where they are. When we find them again, we have to start the process over again. Linkage to all the treatments that they were interested in engaging in before, any housing wait list they were placed on, now we're starting from square one. What we're doing here is prolonging homelessness when we should be trying to end homelessness. It's quite difficult. I will end by giving you an example of a forced encampment closure that happened in 2023. There was an encampment in the city of Dayton. They were swept. The people staying in that encampment ended up going into an abando on Broadway. And within approximately 48 hours, that abando went up in flames, and we lost 5 lives. We simply didn't know where those people went. We need to do something different here in the city so we're not losing more lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Tara Campbell.
Tara Campbell, 2224 Chamberlain Avenue, Dayton, Ohio, representing Dayton United for Human Rights. We were present alongside other residents when the community advocated for the recent tax levy. This was never about symbolic gestures. It was about survival. It was about saving lives. And now the $1.1 million on the table, we ask, where is the plan? Where is the transparency? Where is the community voice? Not one public session has been held to discuss the funds and where it would go to. The public has been kept in the dark, and those of most effective have not been kept in the conversation. And this is unacceptable. We say over and over again that housing is a human right. But in Dayton right now, the right is being violated in silence. In 2024, over 600 individuals were in shelters in Dayton, and 90 were unhoused, living on the margins of them, ignored, some harassed, and too many unseen. We have one shelter, one family shelter, one men's shelter, and both are overstretched and under-resourced. Meanwhile, the crisis worsens. We are not just in a housing emergency, we're in a moral emergency, and yet this crisis is not met with urgency or compassion, but with silence and displacement. Our unhoused neighbors are disappearing from downtown streets, and it's not just residents noticing businesses are asking the same questions. Where have they gone? On April 22nd, exactly 1 month ago, Dayton United for Human Rights sent a second letter to the city. We asked for answers. Where is our unhoused population now? Where are our people? What steps have the city taken to ensure their safety, their health, their access to food, water, shelter, and case management? Let's not pretend this is coincidental. This sudden absence of unhoused people from downtown began just in preparations for NATO Village to ramp up. Are restrictions being placed on where unhoused people can exist? Have they been removed to make Dayton appear cleaner for their international eyes? Let me ask plainly, what is more important, international appearance or human lives? If housing is a human right, then how we treat those with no shelter is a direct reflection of who we are as a city. If housing is a human right, the tents in the woods, the encampments on the sidewalks are the cleanest sign that our systems are failed. These are not random acts of homelessness. They are the last resorts of survivalship. We must create a policy that outlines giving 30-day notices before removing encampments, just like we would give renters. Provide safe and accessible storage facilities, care plans for their places for their belongings. Ensure the street outreach teams and case managers are informed, not in theory and not just to say. Thank you for your comments.
No, thank you for your comments.
Thank you, Ms. Carey. Thank you,
That
Ms.
is all,
Campbell.
Your Honor.
Okay.
That is
good.
all.
So, Ms. Dixon, in closing comments.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd just like to make a couple of highlights with regards to some of the comments made. Just as it relates to the land acquired for the downtown police station, first of all, there were multiple departments involved. You know, the study that you've talked about had planning, neighborhoods, and development, had many law department, we had the police department. Paul Saunders is the lead for the police department, so he made the presentation. A lot of due diligence was done. We had an outside real estate attorney that was guiding us. And again, we were cloaked in this, and so their identity wasn't known at the beginning or throughout the negotiation. And just as a clarification, because I know there's confusion around this point, the taxes are required to be paid to have a clean title for us to take ownership. So that is a result of the transaction. So I just wanted to make some clarifications there. As you all know, homelessness is a very complex problem. We, in conjunction with the City of Dayton and many of the stakeholders, sat at a table for 2+ years to put together the Homeless Solutions Plan and strategy. Very collaborative, streamlined, so that we didn't have a dozen front doors, and individuals unhoused didn't have to repeat their story a half a dozen times every time they were trying to get service. We have spent tens of millions of dollars in shelters, chronic homeless housing, permanent supportive housing, and we are engaged right now in conversations about recognizing that there is a need because of we now have transgender unhoused individuals, and going into a men's shelter or a women's shelter is not an option. As some of the speakers talked, there are folks with acute mental illness that a communal setting like our shelters is a deterrent, and there is still capacity in our shelters. And so we are exploring, though, and MVHO is already pursuing the first small home development, so that there are opportunities for individuals who, for whatever reason, can't go into a shelter, have access to individual homes that are still provided those wraparound services, because I think that we all agree those wraparound services are absolutely critical for the ongoing support and health of our unhoused individuals. So our process, which, by the way, I think we're on year 3, I mean, this is the same process. Nothing has changed, shifted, anything over the last 2 or 3 years. Our process was generated by a very collaborative effort of 6 departments within the city, P&D, Dayton Fire, Police Department, Public Works, the Law Department, City Manager's Office were involved in crafting our process. And there were conversations with service providers or outreach and the county. I know that while we were talking about this, there is supposed to be, and I think that the first gentleman, Andrew Altenberg, commented about coordination. When there is going to be a disruption to an encampment, there is supposed to be notification, coordination with outreach workers so that we can continue. We know how important those connections to services are. Look, we're spending more money to try and make sure we have more outreach so that we can connect people to services and get them in the queue. And our folks are well aware of typically when somebody is on a list, where they're on a list, and how, and are trying to be helpful as well in getting them there. We created this approach that provides the most flexibility to respond to this complex issue. And as you know, the unhoused individuals are important constituency in our city. So are adjacent property owners, institutional leaders, business leaders, and these sweeps that end up happening are because of the amount of complaints typically generated with regards to the encampment. And we can't also ignore the fact that this encampment is not legal. They aren't on property they own or have permission to be there, right? So we can't ignore that fact. And when we have a lot of other stakeholders that are also your constituents complaining about whether it's the smells, the traffic, the safety concerns, the whatever, we can't turn a blind eye to that either. And so we are trying to implement a process that provides for warning, that continues connectivity. Clearly, we've got some work to do because we're still losing those valuable connections, and we'll keep working at that. But we are trying to be compassionate for our unhoused individuals as well as all of our other constituents, because this indeed is a very complicated, and I welcome the best practice that Ms. Rao brought to us, because I will read that and look at, and I will have our team that put this process together look at that and see how we can adjust, tweak, what can we do that is, still addressing the multiple interests, priorities, needs of this very complex situation. But that is that, and we'll follow up. I will follow up with you on some of the due diligence I go back to the team on with an updated memo for you all, and we'll go from there.
Of course, and I really appreciate the aspect of leaving that document. I think it was Tanya, I'm not sure, that left that document for us.
Ms. Rao.
Dr. Rao.
Brown? Okay. So we take a look at that as well as yourself, and then we'll get back with you or meet with you and share with you some of the additional concerns that we're raising. I know the issue of housing, and this doesn't help anyone in terms of these situations right now, but the issue of housing over the last 50 years, the cost of housing has increased more than 70+%. And the cost of, or the salaries, if you will, for people to deal with to afford housing has only increased 14%. So there's a very big gap, if you will. And this is nationwide. It's not just here in Dayton. This is nationwide because this is a nationwide problem to address these concerns. So again, as we find more and more opportunities to look through that document, see what we can do, And I appreciate those comments that were made about the fact that at least we are doing a good job in terms of notifying you as best we can when those situations happen where individuals are going to be moved. The cooperation, communication is something very valuable for us and for you as well, and we'll continue to work on that. So this is not a one and done, okay? Thank you, and again, thank you for being here. Okay, closing comments from commissioners. Commissioner Turner-Sloss?
Yes, I have a few. Thank you for your comments.
Excuse me, Ms. Blackshear, you have any closing comments?
I have none, Your Honor.
Okay, now, Ms. Turner-Sloss.
Excuse me, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Dixie, for providing that additional context. I do have a couple of questions while we're speaking on this issue, but I want to go back to the police station hub. And from my understanding, I know that, and you correct me if I'm wrong, please, I know that the city has a very aggressive, detailed vetting process in terms of individuals, developers, whomever have you, property owners, whereas there is an extensive amount of investigation and work that is done in regards to, let's say, this particular individual that we're speaking of with the site of interest. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, did we in fact do our due diligence in terms of knowing that this individual is in fact has a history of being a bad actor in our community?
Commissioner Turner-Sloss.
Whatever have you.
Commissioner Turner-Sloss, please speak into the mic.
Oh,
they can hear you.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Thank you, Mayor. In terms of like what that process is, because I know you do your due diligence in that regard. So I'm just trying to figure out like where did we drop the ball, if any, or
We didn't drop any balls.
Okay.
We knew exactly what they were, they did the due diligence, they knew, they talked with the county.
Okay.
Our real estate attorney had and the attorneys working on this case had a very good handle on everything. This is exactly why, because this owner is a problem owner in many instances. There were many people interested, private, commercial, in this property. They walked away each and every time because this property owner is very difficult. And so in some cases, it is exactly the government's role to come in and help advance development. This particular case is a perfect location, given the issues we're having in downtown, for our police presence to be grown. It is cleaning up blight that has been there for decades at the city, and it is going to help bring investment around it. That is often the catalytic role of government in real estate development. But I will tell you, there were no surprises with regards to this project.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Like I said earlier, I look forward to that documentation. Thank you. And thank you for, again, providing that additional information. As we speak to our unhoused population, and this is an area that many reasons why I decided to run for office. I'm very adamant and passionate about housing, decent, affordable housing, and making sure that we are, in fact, stabilizing our neighborhoods and that we are treating housing as a human right, because in fact, it is. So I really, really appreciate all of you from MBHO, Dr. Rao, from your work, your commitment, and your leadership in this space. It is a very, very difficult space. Ms. Campbell, thank you for being here as well. So I'm just really trying to get an understanding of, because initially there were comments that were made as if there was something that occurred. And then once the additional speakers, they did give their comments, it was noted that there was an incident that took place 2 weeks ago. So to some of the questions that were posed, I personally was not aware of this encampment sweep. So I would ask that, Ms. Dixine, and I know you've already alluded to, that we have an understanding that and I know you're going to do your due diligence, you're going to provide us with a memo with the details of the process, but if in fact you can please keep us informed on the process itself. You've already made a commitment. Thank you, Dr. Rao, for bringing the best practices before us. I know I'm going to personally review it, so I asked Ms. Jackson if we can all get a copy of that. I know my colleagues are interested in reading that document as well. That is something that we definitely need to review in its entirety from front to back to make sure that, in fact, we're doing all of the things that are necessary to protect our most vulnerable. And so with that, Operation Charlie, that comes into play, right? Like where, right, is that, I know we have our homeless solution, I'm a part of that board, I know we have those conversations, and let me say this as well. Many of you I know, please call me. Please do not hesitate to call. Please bring this to our attention at the forefront so that we can make sure that we address these concerns head on and not, waiting till they get to this point where we're losing people who are, in fact, in that process of gaining the resources and the services that they need. Because one of the speakers made mention that it is, in fact, a crime. And I think it was Dr. Rao that made the comments. But it's also dangerous. It's dangerous for our individuals who are unhoused, but also to our PD, to our staff, and to many other members who are the outreach workers who are out in the space, in the field, that are in fact doing the work. So I would just ask Ms. Dixie, and I know that you've already committed to doing so, is that we have an understanding of the process, that we are working very closely with MVHO, as well as our other housing solution policy partners in that space, and then moving forward, the point is well taken. The 30-day notice, if there's something that we can do. I know we executed that same process, if you will, for the issue that we had at the private park location that was not off of Paul Lawrence Dunbar, the encampment that just, as well as Nagley Place. So, we've been having encampments across the city, but I will say that our staff, and her name escapes me right now, she worked very, very hard to make sure that that work was being done, and that those individuals that were in those encampments, that they were notified, and that there were a number of outreach efforts that were made with the Citizen Engagement Division. So I would just ask that we can continue those efforts. The only other thing that I wanted to mention, again, I've worked in this space. I will continue to work in this space. You have my commitment, all of those who are, in fact, here. MVHO, thank you for coming out this morning and giving voice to these issues. These are very, very challenging issues, but they are issues that we need to address head on. And so, again, the commitment is there. I would like to speak with you all after the meeting, so I'm glad you all are still here. And so, for the sake of time, just a couple more comments. I would like to acknowledge and congratulate Ms. Keisha Kinney for being named as the director of the Water Department. Congratulations to you. I think you've been with the organization for now 15 years. And so, again, I'm glad to see that you have, in fact, been named as the director of water. You're a great asset to the organization. I'd like to congratulate Reverend Dr. Henderson on the renaming of Gold Street. He had a ceremony. The mayor and I were both there this past Sunday. Yes, it was a busy weekend, a very busy weekend. And Commissioner Shaw, as well as the mayor, they were a part of the Links annual Cooking's Men event. Cooking Men event was well attended. It was the Wicked theme. And again, there was also an event that was held by the women of St. Margaret's Church, which was well attended. There was a brunch, a sister circle brunch with all of the Divine Nine sororities. They participated, and then we had our very own national president, President Smith from the illustrious Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. The past president was the keynote speaker for the Sunday worship service for St. Margaret's Women's Day service on Sunday. I believe that's all I have. Again, I look forward to having the conversations with many of our community members and leaders here from MVHO, Dr. Rao, Ms. Campbell, Ms. Lamance as well. Thank you all very much for being here. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shaw.
Yeah, well, I just want to thank you, Ms. Dickstein, for clarifying and then just kind of illustrating the complexity of the homeless issue, and then talking about the history that we've had in the space for a number of years. This is not a situation that is isolated to Dayton. It's a national problem, and we all have to pull together. And as we know, the county really leads in that space. I appreciate everyone coming down here to kind of talk about the issue and bring it forward. Also, so thanks. And just finally, Closed at Work is hosting an Interviewing 101 workshop tomorrow, May 22nd, from 11 to 12 p.m. at the Electra C. Doran Library. You can register on the Dayton Metro Library website. And that's all I have.
That's it. Okay, briefly on the housing, because so much has been said, and again, making sure that we show some appreciation for attending the meeting. As we work to improve, one of the challenges that we have that minimizes homeless issues is that of raising medium income. And the fact that we've been heavily engaged on a very positive basis in getting more and more citizens of Dayton to be employed. We have led the region through the last 10 years in job growth, and we continue to move forward by increasing the median income over the last 10, 12 years by almost $20,000. Now, that still doesn't mean anything for those individuals who are jobless, who are homeless at this point in time, but it will help us continue to work to prevent or minimize those negative situations from being the case. And that's the major thing that we can do in those spaces, is make sure we do everything we can in terms of additional housing, as well as the ability to pay for housing, as well as working with organizations like Homeful, Habitat for Humanity, to not just build houses, but also to find ways of helping individuals stay in their houses as well. Learning how to do the maintenance themselves, or getting someone else to do maintenance, as well as finding other vendors or contractors to do stuff at a reduced rate, because we may have some senior citizens in those spaces as well. So all these things are part of things that we've been working on for the last 5, 6, 7 years in terms of minimizing the challenges that we're speaking of today. Additionally, the aspect of, I guess if we're on a positive note, to talk about Reverend Henderson Jr., to be in that space, to have the street named after him. Of course, Family Church, with his father being the pastor there as well. And just looking at so much that that church has done to stay right there in that space. Even as we talk about renovation, while many of some of the ministers built new churches, and some of them sometimes outside of the city, he and his family and father chose to stay right there and renovate that church right there in the same location on formerly Gold Street. But to do work there in an area where we're doing more and more investments in all the areas right there in that Soda Bass, East Soda Bass area, in as far as the city of Dayton is concerned. Additionally, on the Cookie Men, they had the record number of individuals. The Links Incorporated continues to do great work, and also gave out significant checks to organizations that are doing great things in this community as well. One of those, I think, was a $30,000 check to the Girls and Boys Club. And I say girls first this time on purpose. But the aspect of them doing that work in that space, in this community, to help with the new space that's going to go in, being not renovated, but having a new space built right there, because of help from the community as well as help from the state in terms of getting additional dollars in that space. And also with the Links, I made a debut of cooking my crown apple ribs, the mayor's crown apple ribs. They were a big hit. 18 slabs of ribs just sort of disappeared in a matter of about an hour and a half. And I may be doing the same thing maybe next year, as opposed to my world-famous pancakes. But either one, they're a hit. But just let you know just how much we appreciate supporting the Links and the work that they do in this community as well. So with no further business to come before this commission, love and peace for all and hatred for none, this meeting is adjourned.